marketing, look no further. We created the Secret Society of Supply Chain to provide a safe space, a community for everyone in supply chain. We offer unique opportunities for everyone to connect and grow in our three distinct value pack communities: the Supply Chainers, Women in Supply Chain, and the Creative Room. From the learn at your own pace, content rich approach of the Supply Chainers to the empowering, community focused space of Women in Supply Chain and the marketing mastermind of the Creative Room, we mean it when we say there's truly a place for everyone. Head over to secretsocietyofsupplychain.com to explore which community was made for you. And I want to do a quick shout out because we launched our first Woman in Supply Chain virtual monthly meetup last week, and it was to rave reviews. So shout out to everybody in that group. I know that you are on a journey, and I love to see it and can't wait to hear more. All right, let's get back to what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we've got a brand new show coming live at you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, and it's hosted by Christine Barnhart, and it's called Supply Chain Unfiltered. If anybody knows Christine, you know that she's going to bring Supply Chain Unfiltered. And so you're not going to want to miss this one. This is our first episode for this particular series, and she's going to be back the third Wednesday of every single month. Now, I also have a brand new episode. It's not really an episode, edition of the Monthly Hustle, which is my monthly newsletter. And I'm going to be diving deep in 2024 into some personal stories, the personal side of my journey. And in this particular edition, I talk about how I met Denise Richards and how I ended up on live TV with her not once, but twice. So go and check it out, read up on it. And every month we're going to be back here with a personal side of our journey or my journey. Anyways, without further ado, it is time to bring up Nicole. You have heard enough from me. And now we're going to be putting a spotlight on Nicole because we've got so much to talk about. How are you today?
I am good. I'm excited to go read about Denise Richards. That's a cool story. So thanks for having me on today, Sarah. I'm excited to talk with you.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you on the show. You and I, we've been friends, LinkedIn friends for a very, very long time, but we only really met in person, I think, in November? It was only last year.
And now it's like I see you all the time, and I love it. I'm like, are you going here? I'm going here. Are you going here? I'm going here. You're like my conference BFF.
I love it. And we tend to have a little bit too much fun. But anyways, that's for another show. Why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Well, my name is Nicole Glenn. I am the CEO and founder of a company called Candor Expedite that the world is starting to understand and know a little bit, which is very exciting to me. I've been in supply chain and logistics for the past 24 years. Have done really everything from anything you can conceive of on the operational side, and then led my way up to business management, and then started my company in 2017. So we're an expedited ground and air company that focuses on white glove service and bringing that all with truth and transparency, hence the name.
So, I love that. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about white gloves. So if you don't know what that is, stay tuned because we're going to be talking about that. Now, before we go into anything else, I feel like it's a bit of the week of Nicole because we featured you on our Woman in Supply Chain blog, which I think came out just yesterday or a couple of days ago. And if anybody doesn't know about our Woman in Supply Chain series, we feature a woman on the podcast and the blog every single month. And we couldn't do it without the sponsors. But in this particular episode or this particular blog, Nicole, you talk about your journey, right? You just sort of mentioned a little bit about your journey, but this goes into a little bit more about your journey and the advice and what you hope for the industry. What did this mean for you to be featured on here?
I mean, anything that gets a story out that can impact people to either take those next steps in their career or realize that they're not alone, right? I feel like we all have these thoughts of this imposter syndrome or not wanting to feel vulnerable. And so I think that's required from people that have been in the space for a long time to show you're not alone. You can overcome your obstacles. Keep working for the companies that are living the values that you want to live by, and focus on your own personal development and thriving. I mean, that's the whole thing. So meeting some of these people at these conferences, when they'll read different things or see different things and they go, hey, I did this because of this.
Mhm.
That's what it's about, right? It's
Yeah.
about sharing that with the community so people maybe skip some steps that really suck for others
Mhm.
or really put themselves in a vulnerable position so that way they can like elevate and lift
Yeah.
themselves. So I love it. I love it.
Well, and it's the power of impact, right? It was one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I decided to share a little bit more personally on the monthly hustle for 2024 is because if you can just sort of help somebody not go through some of the challenges that we went through, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's a win because I don't want to see anybody go through some of the challenges that I've been through. I mean, if you don't have to go through that, all the power to you, right?
Right. Right.
And then the other thing that I want to mention, and here's another amazing picture of you, is that Candor Expedite is now a corporate sponsor of the Blended Pledge. Now, if anybody doesn't know what the Blended Pledge is, we give away grants to cover travel expenses so that diverse voices can say yes to speaking engagements. And we couldn't do that without corporate sponsors or donors to our GoFundMe page as well. We've given away, I think, 6 grants. We are on the path to give away more grants. If you have a speaking opportunity and you need help with travel, please go to the blendedpledge.org and apply because we definitely want to help you with that. Why did you decide to be a corporate sponsor for Blended?
Well, for me, it's been watching, some of the women in my team. We had
Mhm.
Alana Long. She got to go speak at Women in Trucking, and I saw how she responded to that opportunity. It scared the hell out of her first when they accepted her nominate or her idea to speak, right? Her topic. But then over the course of a couple of months, she like got her stuff together. She was ready. She was excited. And I watched her come back, and it creates this sense of confidence. It just feels good to do that and overcoming these like fears and phobias
Mhm.
that we have.
Yeah.
And so that was just one little thing, and then we had dinner. You and I had dinner with a group of people, and you had brought a person. Was it Lisa Jones? Is that her name?
Yes. Mhm.
Yes, and she had been one of the people that it had sponsored, and it got her to a conference, and I got to hear her firsthand explain what that meant to her. So I was like, if I can give anything towards that and get someone on a stage or get someone at a conference to assist, I mean, more power to those people to have that experience because it can be life changing. You might
Mhm.
meet someone who changes your entire trajectory on where you're
Yep.
headed. And
You
so
never know.
anything, that power of impact word that you said, that little
Yeah.
statement, it's part of it. And I think we really need to recognize that companies can't always either do that, they're too small, or they don't have that emphasis on this. And it gives people a platform to get out there and, learn and thrive. So it's
Yes, yes. So thank you so much for being such a supporter of Blended Pledge. Head over to the Blended Pledge LinkedIn page as well. We literally just did a video with Sophia, who was at Manifest, and she was a grant recipient as well. And so we're looking to create way more impact this year. And of course, we can only do that with people like you, Nicole. So thank you so much. All right, let's talk about and let me know where you're tuning in from in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, we want to hear from you. So let's get to the poll of the week. So we ask everybody a question every single Wednesday morning across the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn and Instagram. Now, this question was, what's a superpower you wish that you had? 45, is that 45? Let me look at that. 46% of you said time travel. 31% of you said teleportation, 12% of you said invisibility, and 11% of you said flying. Nicole, what do you think about this and which one would you choose? Or if there's one on the list that maybe
You know what I
you wish
always
you
thought about? I always thought it'd be great to have the ability to freeze time. So not necessarily time travel, but freeze time, and then I could tap anyone I want on the shoulder and we unfreeze and we can go do whatever we want. I always thought that would be an awesome superpower. So I guess it fits in the time travel quadrant,
it kind of
but
does. Yeah.
it's got a little spice to it.
I love this one. I think flying was one of mine because then I could get to places a lot quicker and I could probably get more done in a day.
You might have some weird arms though.
I know. I
Squirrel,
know, right? Or
squirrel
a
arm.
cape at least. Some cool cape, right? That helps me fly. So Monica says, I'd love to be invisible and hear things that I'm not supposed to hear. Leah says, going back in time, buying that stock, then hot footing it back to this time so that they can relax.
I mean, that's perfect idea. Go, Leah. I'm on your boat.
Right? Those
Yeah.
lottery numbers, eh?
Yep.
All right. So thank you so much to everybody who weighed in on the question of the week. We'll have another question for you tomorrow morning. Now, before we get into our articles, Nicole, talk to us a bit of a market update. You're in sort of the delivery, trucking, last mile space, which we're going to get into a little bit more. But I'd like to get a sense of where the market is. Like, what are your customers sort of talking about, asking you about? What are people concerned about in your space of supply chain?
Well, I mean, it's touching all of supply chain. I mean, the biggest things, the buzzwords that we're hearing consistently are sustainability.
Hmm.
A lot of companies have this emphasis right now in a down market. I think it's a great play, right? So you're in a down market. We are in a down market too, as a company. So it's a great time to go, hey, you want to work with us? Here are some of the initiatives that we have to focus on. So
Right.
sustainability has been a big push for us with some of our clients. And I think we're still going to see a down market for a little while. I had this prediction in
Here we
December and
go.
like June. That's when everything's going to kick up. And I don't know if I'm just getting like, okay, we're inching towards June and it still feels the same. And so I'm getting a little nervous at that. But I mean, we are still seeing a massive volume of request, but at the same time, cost is of the essence for a lot of clients right now. So for us, we're in a down market, but on the expedited side. And then when we're talking about the white glove side, there is an uptick there. I think that is something that's on the climb that we'll see. A lot of companies are doing a lot more B2C. The Amazon effect has just impacted deliveries. And so I think that is a huge prediction for me that marketplace will just keep climbing. So with that, that's how we've been able to bring in additional growth to our company,
Right.
is living in that high touch, high specialty space.
Well, and no pressure, but you've heard it here, folks. If it doesn't happen by June, feel free to message Nicole. No, just kidding.
Right, right.
This happens all the time.
June is coming. Yeah.
Everything is going to change in June.
I don't
Nicole
know
has made it.
why. I don't know why. It's like, okay, I feel optimistic about the second half of the year. I don't know if that is just optimism
I
or
mean, so I think like you were at Manifest, right? And some of the things that came out of that conference for me that was that people were excited for 2024. And so talking about that, talking about your prediction for June, I mean, I just feel like everybody is sort of thinking that way anyways. Did you feel that too coming out of Manifest?
yeah, it's the only thing I'm really concerned about, and I've talked to some shippers about this, is a lot of RFPs went out in December, January, right? And the marketplace is very, very low at this time. So
Mhm.
I've been challenging some shippers going, hey, with a year-long contract, because I do think of this uptick coming. I'm like, what are your contingency plans? What are you thinking
Right.
about planning when tender acceptance starts, declining? What are you going to do at that time? And so it's been interesting to get some of the feedback from some of the shippers due to the pandemic. They're going, hey, we have more flexibility now. We're willing to renegotiate. We're willing to talk to our
Mm.
solid providers, ocean, air, ground, if they're bringing the service and they need that uptick in their pricing to bring success to the organization. So I think some of the shippers are now starting to have a little bit of fluff in their forecast, just allowing for that instead of what we experienced in the past. So I think it's
Interesting.
interesting
Yeah.
this next year to see how does it balance out, and then really who lived in that forecast model of, hey, this probably will go up somewhat.
Yeah.
And I think it's exciting to see what
Yeah.
happens. We're
And how did
changing
it work out?
the way we work, right? Changing supply chain and the way that it's worked. So
Mhm.
I'm excited to see that.
Well, one of the things about supply chain is I don't know about you, but I keep hearing the word AI all over the darn place. I almost
Hmm.
swore there. all over the place. So I decided to grab this article from Supply Chain Dive, and this came out of a conversation in Manifest. And so Schneider is using AI to eliminate maintenance across their conveyor systems in their smart warehouse. And it's helping them to stop the jams, which was costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars in labor time and delivery performance. And it's making it more predictive. Now, when you saw this particular article, what did you think? Because I've got some thoughts on this, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
Well, I think that it's allowing people to understand what AI is really about. I feel like the common person thinks AI is truly ChatGPT and writing a sales email or giving a formula that they need. AI is impacting everything. I mean,
Mhm.
it's going to be folded throughout everything that we're doing. I've heard Bill Gates, he literally said in an article, he went, well, I think my company of Microsoft will ultimately be obsolete with email and different things in the next 5 years because eventually AI, the speed of where it's going, will be able to be like, oh, you need to send this email. This happened, or you need to send this message. You need to do this. And so I
Wow.
think the evolution of AI is going to be so impactful that I think people's heads are, if they're not spinning already, they will here soon. And so when I talk to my team, that's a big emphasis, right? To say, hey, we're going to be a technology company. And I'm like, ultimately, that's what we're all going to be in supply chain are technology companies, obviously, with having a human to tech ratio. So this article was great because it made the awareness like it's beyond simple task and can really impact your business for the better. I thought it was a great article.
Well, yeah. And one of the key things that I wanted to point out in this particular article, and one of the things that you just mentioned is the overwhelm, right? The
Hmm.
overwhelm of the technology options that are out there, the overwhelm of having to bring AI into your supply chain if that's on the roadmap or you're getting pressure to do that. One of the key things in this article was I felt like they picked something. I mean, I wouldn't say small, but they picked one thing and they went after it with AI
Yep.
and they got it right. And so I feel like too many times we think about, well, it can help with all of these things, but really, essentially, it really comes down to picking that one thing that's going to make a big impact, focusing on that, implementing it there, seeing the wins there, getting the buy in, and then moving on to something else. And so, is it coming fast and furious? Yes. But at the same time, I think we need to slow down and figure out how we're going to use it before we start creating massive chaos.
I mean, I agree with you. And I think the emphasis for even Schneider, when they see that success, they're going to probably look throughout their entire business and go, what else can we make an impact on? Right.
Hmm.
So that's the thing too, Sarah, is like after the success comes from it, still staying diligent to like, knock one thing off the list instead of going, hey, this worked. Let's try to plug it in everything that we've ever done to make these changes. So yeah,
That is a good point. Start with
yeah,
one thing, but then don't go to 25, right? All at
right,
once.
right.
All right, let's talk about white glove. Now, you've mentioned this a couple of different times during this conversation, and this is kind of like everything you need to know about this. Now, one of the things that I thought about when I was reading this particular blog on your website is consumers' buying habits are changing into expensive and exclusive, and they're getting them delivered to their homes. Now,
Right.
was when I was running the panel discussion at Manifest, one of the things that came across was that people are not buying products unless they are guaranteed sort of like next day delivery. Like that is the bar. That's what people are looking for. And especially if you think about expensive and exclusive, people want to make sure that they're home, right? They don't want to leave their expensive packages on the front porch for porch pirates. Right.
Right.
So, talk to us about the importance of white glove, especially when some of those conversations around like next day, I want to be at home, expensive, exclusive.
Well, I think it's going to keep evolving that way. Amazon really changed the way that we're as consumers looking at purchases, but e-commerce has just in general too. I mean, now you can go on and get something that's high value and you don't have to go through a middleman. You can go direct to a manufacturer and you want that delivered to your home. You don't always have to go to Home Depot anymore. You can the resources and where we can go to is just so vast now, you
Yeah.
know. But I think people want to be able to have the flexibility to have those deliveries made. And we like the ninja button as consumers. We do. Like, not only do I want to be home, I want to have open the door for you and you're going to actually bring that in and you're going to put that where I need it to be. I want that whole experience and I want you to investigate it. I want to see that there's nothing wrong with that because I spent a significant amount of money on it. And so you just want that ease of a transaction now. Whereas before it was kind of like you went to Home Depot, you tried to fit it in the back of your truck, you'd have your friend go, to help you, and you
Who's
open
got
it,
a pickup truck and
damage,
available tomorrow at 10 a.m.?
right, right. And so I think we're all looking for that type of, specialty type of delivery to where everything is just seamless. Who wants, we wait for things a lot too. Do you remember when everyone was redoing things in their home and they were like, we're out of stock on that for 4 months.
I waited like 14 months for a couch.
Yeah. Can you imagine if it hit your front porch and they open it up and it's all damaged?
Yeah, that would have been even worse. Okay,
Yeah,
so I
we're
was
like,
kind of lucky.
4 months, another 4 months, please, and we'll get that to you. So I think now that, things have kind of opened back up and products are able to move through the supply chain a little bit easier than what they had before, people are expecting those types of services to happen seamlessly and quickly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Well, and yeah, like I was saying with the expensive and the exclusive, nobody wants that sitting on their porch for a very, very long time. And also, if they're going to spend that kind of money with you, you want them to have that personalized, customized experience for them, right? At their door with the delivery and all that kind
And
of
you
stuff.
want to
So
be feel safe too when someone's coming in your home to
that
bring
too.
something over the threshold. So I think the importance of that too is emphasizing the professionalism of the drivers, their appearances,
Yeah.
and even the way that they speak to the customer. So
Mhm.
before it used to be, a sales rep and they made that delivery and blah blah blah. Now the customer experience goes all the way through the delivery
Mhm.
at the home. So
Yeah.
even though they're outsourcing that with the company, right, it still represents the manufacturer.
Yeah.
And so
The
I think
brand.
that's a big emphasis when a manufacturer is doing that to really validate, set the expectations for their white glove service providers, uniforms, friendly, and then just get that customer service feedback. Like,
Mhm.
how was that for you? Because that will make or break you now, for sure.
Well, and make sure that you partner with somebody that's going to take that feedback and put it into action. All right, let's talk about our last article. So, this article is Women Leaders Weigh In on How to Move the Needle in 2024. So, I'm going to give you a couple of stats. So, in 2023, McKinsey interviewed, I think, 27,000 employees, 270 senior leaders. 23% of women were C suite, 6% of that was women of color, and 40% of that was manager role. Now, they interviewed a few key people in this particular article about what needs to change in 2024 so we can move the needle. Some of the things that came out of this is that women are frustrated because they do the work, but they don't get compensated for it and they don't get the title. So I think we need to be a little bit more aware and a little bit more intentional about how we are moving through the company and what people are doing particular roles. They were talking about flexibility, bias, and that we need to see more representation at the top. What did you think about this, Nicole?
What I always think about this, I encourage women to start understanding how to host these crucial conversations.
Mhm.
Really understand their ability to negotiate. Because if they're going to do the work and then not ask for that, that ask outrageous is the most important part, is understanding what your value is and asking those questions. There's so many different tools and resources that you can go to start learning how to host those crucial conversations. I think we carry this like weight upon ourselves where we're like, well, I know I'm doing the work, but I still have a lot more to learn. And maybe I'm not worth that value yet, but I will be. And so I think it's really mapping out, looking at what jobs are paying. We have so much tools at our disposal to see like what does that role play pay, and utilize that
Mhm.
negotiation. Because I did a lot of research on the negotiations of women, And it's very low. So even when job offers are put on the table, say it's a $45,000 to $55,000 sway that they'll list, they'll go, "Hey, this job's paying 45,000," and a lot of women will tend to go, "I'll take it." Where men
Right.
will go, "Hey, I need
Well,
60,000. I know it says 55, but I need 60." And they do more negotiation. So
mhm,
I do think women have to start kind of owning themselves and almost writing a brag list for
mhm.
themselves. Like, hey, here are all the things I've done.
Yes.
Start building their cases and then really do some practice and role play on that negotiation side. It's very uncomfortable, but
So
you can do it.
uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable.
But I think we also need to get an idea of what it is that we want, because it's not
Yes.
always the money.
Yep.
Right? Sometimes it is the flexibility, right? The flexible hours, working from home, different things like that. So we also need to figure out what that looks like for us when we go into that negotiation. Maybe it's part money, maybe it's part flexibility, maybe it's, the hybrid option when everybody else has to be in the office. And really understanding what that is for us when we go into it. Now, one of the comments that was made was that the boys club is still around, but it's underground, which is
Mhm.
which I thought was, very eye opening. And then the other person said, be careful we don't encourage divisiveness as well when we're talking about diversity and inclusion, when we're talking about moving the needle forward for women, et cetera, et cetera. So, a lot to sort of consider. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But, like you said, peer cohorts, there's a lot of opportunities within organizations. We've just launched one. There's a couple of other ones that are out there, especially for C suite as well. And so there's a lot of different ways for us to be able to come together and talk about it, but really put the work in to move the needle forward. And I think if everybody's aware, and that's why we talk about this a lot,
Right. Yep.
awareness, being intentional of your everyday and just sort of figuring out what that looks like for everybody on your team, I think is really, really important. All right. So now, just before we go, I just want to let everybody know where we're going to be. So, of course, at 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, we are launching Supply Chain Unfiltered, hosted by Christine Barnhart. And you are not going to want to miss this
She's great.
conversation. I
She's
know.
great. Yes.
Go and click the attend button, even if you can't attend live, and I will send you the recording. I've got a webinar coming up, how data accuracy drives efficiency at Aeronet worldwide. Now, this is going to be an interesting conversation about what is working within a forwarder and a 3PL. You're not going to want to miss this one. Go and register now. And then I've also got another webinar with Reveal and Supply Chain Brain for parcel shipping in style. And we're going to be talking about a case study. So go register for that. And then TPM, I'm going to be live at TPM for TPM TV. I'm also going to be on stage March 3rd through 6th. So hopefully I'll see you there. And if you're there, come and say hi. Nicole, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really, really appreciate you and all your insights.
You.
So thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Thanks, everyone.